The Rocket, Roger Clemens on 9/11, the Hall of Fame, the Mitchell Report. And is he really in his heart a Yankee, a Red Sox, a Blue Jay, or an Astro? Roger Clemens. It is Will Cain Country. Normally streaming live every Monday through Thursday at 12 o'clock Eastern Time at the Will Cain Country YouTube channel, the Will Cain Facebook page, but always available by following us at Spotify or on Apple. It is a Cain on Sports Friday edition of Will Cain Country, and we have a special treat today. We have the Rocket, Roger Clemens, 11-time All-Star, 2-time World Series champion, American League MVP, 7-time Cy Young Award winner, 2-time Triple Crown, 4-time Major League Baseball wins leader, 7-time Major League Baseball ERA leader, 5-time American League strikeout leader, and a Major League Baseball 20 strikeouts in 9-inning game that he did twice, and College World Series champion with the Texas Longhorns. What a treat to get to talk to Roger Clemens. We had an hour-long conversation wherein we talked about everything from his experience on 9/11, the baseball careers of his sons, and does he, in fact, want to be, after all these years of denial, in the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. I really enjoyed this conversation. I've enjoyed getting to know him, and I hope you enjoy this next hour with Roger Clemens.
I don't know if you know, Will, but I was supposed to pitch the night of 9/11. That was my start at Yankee Stadium when all hell broke loose. So it's probably the coolest story. It supersedes anything I did 24 years in the major leagues. My agents went to high school with General Myers, and General Myers called me, asked me to go to the Middle East for, I think we were in there for about 11 days. And it was a life-changing experience for me. I got to see some things up close and personal. And my good friend, as you know, Toby Keith, Toby went there a lot. Toby went to places where most entertainers don't go. He took his songwriter and a guitar, and he would play in nasty, tough places where entertainers wouldn't even think about going, where there might be 15 of the baddest dudes on the planet, and go entertain them and visit with them. So, he holds a real special spot in my heart also for what he was doing for our military. But it's a story
so
I can, if we bring it up, I can hit you. We got rained out. I was in Yankee Stadium.
By the way, Roger, just for the record, we're rolling. So we're good.
Okay.
Yeah, tell me the story. You were supposed to pitch the night of 9/11?
Yeah, so, Will, it was, like I said, this is a story that I never get tired of talking about because, and I wish I would kept a better journal. I still have, thank goodness, my memory. But, I was supposed to pitch the night of September 11th. I was a New York Yankee in New York. We got rained out the night before. I was trying to, when we get done with games, it's probably 1 a.m. before we get back home. So I'm trying to push myself to sleep till 8 on the days that I'm working, the days that I'm pitching. I try and push myself to hopefully sleep to 8 o'clock. And I was going for my 20th win, which is a huge milestone for a starting pitcher, against my former team, the Red Sox. So everybody and their mother were in town, for the big rival game, and to watch me go out there to try and win my 20th. And we had a bunch of friends and family up from Texas, and I'm on a 25th floor of a condo, and a friend of mine is on the same floor. There's only two housing units up top there, and he was banging down my door. I opened the door, and I could tell the panic, and he said, "Man, you got to turn the TV on. It's crazy." When he first told me that, I thought it was outside my kitchen window. My bay window and living room window were right out looking over the Hudson. And I thought it was one of those 4-seat planes probably going down. They're giving tours to around the Statue of Liberty. So I thought maybe, he goes, "No, it's much bigger than that. Something's going on." And so we turned the TV on. We saw one of the buildings under attack. we ran up to our lookout. We had a little lookout station, one step higher, that the building let me astroturf and put a barbecue pit and stuff so we could barbecue and look at the beautiful city at night. And when we were up there, we could feel the second plane. We heard it. And I ran back down and got in front of the TV, and I realized, we're under attack. And all of us know what happened. Our lives changed. Everybody's lives changed at that point. The doorman came up and said, hey, they're blocking off bridges, and if you guys are trying to get out of town, you better go. So we loaded everybody up and went to Connecticut at my buddy's place, and just sat there. We knew baseball wasn't even a thing at that time. Now, who knows when we're going to continue. It was just crazy from that point on. We all know what happened. I think we resumed a couple weeks later to try and get people's mind off of everything going on, and it was a real sensitive subject on when we were going to start playing again. But what happened for me personally was one of the most gratifying trips that I ever made. General Richard Myers, I believe 4-star general at the time, he went to high school with my agents, and he called them, and he asked if I would go to the Middle East to see our men and women. This was a little bit later after the fact. And I said, absolutely. I wanted to take my boys, but they weren't of age. And they said, we're going to be going into some areas that are pretty nasty, so we'd rather not. We called Drew Carey, our comedian friend. Drew went with us to tell a few jokes. And in about 7-8 days, Will, I think we saw, 14,000 of our men and women. We were on an aircraft carrier. I was surrounded by probably 25 of the badass Marines you've ever seen. I'm 6'4". These guys standing next to me, no disrespect to NFL punters, but I look like a punter standing next to these guys. They were massive. So they kind of like were my bodyguards, telling me what bases we were going to. General Myers wanted me to jump out first and tell the story, and I just spoke from my heart. We had a jet here in Houston. We flew to Washington, had to spend the night in Washington. We got briefed for about 3 hours of what's going to happen. We got on Air Force 2. We flew into Shannon, Ireland, refueled there. They took me off the plane there and put me on a C-17 transport plane. If you're familiar with those, about 25 of us were down in the basement of the plane. We were facing out back. We were flying the opposite way. And then the trip just started. I mean, people were taking notes and stuff on Air Force 2. The Pentagon had printed a bunch of photos and baseballs for me to sign. So I was a little nervous, to be honest with you, about what I wanted to say or questions that might be asked. But I signed all the 8x10 photos, all the baseballs, and I met some of the coolest people. And I realized how, and I thank them from the bottom of my heart. Somebody like myself on center stage on a mound, 55,000 people, I felt extremely safe once I met these men and women and were able to watch what they did and how fired they were to go. General Myers said, this first group you're talking to will be the group that when we go into combat, they're the first ones to go. And their energy was off the chart. I mean, we went into Kuwait City. We were in Afghanistan, just some really tough places that we just had bombed. And we had to stay on the concrete runway. We couldn't go into the dirt or the grass area. They were worried about explosives. And it was a trip of a lifetime for me. I met so many, like I said, so many cool of our men and women. I always tip my hat to them. I had five uncles that served. My oldest brother since passed away. He served in Vietnam. So we get it. We understand, what the process is. But it was a trip of a lifetime.
Do you have, Roger, it sounds, with my career as well, I've had some unique opportunities to be around men that I didn't necessarily grow up with who've done incredible things. I've had my own path in life, and I'm proud of a lot of things that I've done. Obviously, what you have done is unmatched. There's really no one else, or very, very few men on earth that can claim the resume of Roger Clemens. But do you, when you're around those guys, and I ask you this because this is how I feel, Roger, when you're around those guys, that is one thing I regret. I know that I have two, Roger. I know that already, if this life ends tomorrow, I will have two regrets. One is that I didn't have more children, and two is that I didn't serve in the military. And every time I'm around those guys, it's just a little bit of a reminder of a gap in this life for me.
I agree totally, Will. When you talk about it, I think about my 2 or 3 trips I made to Randall Reed, and I had to stop before I went into some of these men's and women's hospital room, and I was at a loss for words, and so I actually asked some of the commanders, where do I go with this? Can you tell me what I'm fixing to walk into? And they said, you go into that room and you ask them how they lost their arm or leg, and they'll tell you. And every single one of our men and women that had been injured, terribly injured, told me their story, how it happened. And I'm telling you what, they said if they could get me a prosthetic leg that would work, I would go right back right now and serve with my guys. That's the type of mentality. It supersedes this stuff. I take a lot of pride in my work. I lost, the background. I lost my dad when I was 9. My mom raised 6 of us. So she's a tough cookie. My grandmother, tough cookie. They both raised me. They worked their tail off. I got my work ethics for Major League Baseball from both those ladies. My mom worked 3 jobs right here in Houston. That's what kind of pisses me off sometimes when people look at you and say, oh, you $1 million. I tell people that's what I did for a living. It's not who I am as a person. That's what I did, and I did it to the fullest because I was taught that way. My mom worked 3 jobs. She was an accountant by day. I helped her in high school stock a convenience store, coolers, and at night we cleaned office building to get a little extra cash. I thought we were rich. We weren't. She would work her butt off. So she'd get me a new glove every spring for baseball season. I had a sweet red glove and some new cleats. And so that's, when people they don't even know you. They make assumptions about you. And from where I came from.
What do you mean that pisses you off? What is the assumption?
People,
I'm not even aware, Roger. What do they think about you?
Yeah. So for instance, when I went through my whole deal and I had to go into Congress, and it was pretty much a Jerry Springer show, as you guys know. And what was great about it was General Myers and President 41 both called me. We were actually in South Texas on a hunt with my boys, and they found me. I'm an easy person to find. And they gave me a heads up. When you go through this, we've been there many times, and they're going to try and trick you and do this or do that. And some of these people were asking questions that they just got briefed 5 minutes ago behind scenes. They got a piece of paper, and they just think you're this $1 million ball player, and that's who you are. And it's so far from the truth of who you are as a person and where you came from, where I came from, starting, really in high school, when my mom was a stickler on getting an education. I got drafted, I think, my freshman year, and she said, no, I want you to go to school. That's how I end up at University of Texas. And this people, those types of people that don't take the time, they're just looking at a sheet of paper and reading from a sheet. They don't take time to get to know you or really dive into who you are as a person. So those things, but yourself, when I get an opportunity to do your show.
So let me see if I can get what you're getting at. Can I just really quickly?
Sure, absolutely.
I hate that I just cut you off because I think you're about to compliment me. So I hate that I cut you off right there. But no, this is what I want to ask you because I'm trying to pick up what you're putting down. And just for the record, you've said already about half a dozen things that I want to follow up on. And so I'm going to follow these curiosities. So if I interrupt you, it's only because I'm really interested in what you're saying, not because I'm not interested.
Absolutely.
If I pick up what you're putting down, Roger, what you're talking about being pissed off about people making assumptions about your life is you went back and when I asked you that, I was like, are you talking I didn't know if you're talking about the media or, fans or whoever it may be. And you went directly to the congressional testimony. So, and obviously the investigation into steroid use. And what you're saying is, and I've heard that you've said this, I got where I got and I did what I did through hard work. And then when you started telling me about your mom and the way you were raised, I feel like you were telling me about how you learned all that hard work, and it makes you mad that that's been undercut by the idea that you took a shortcut.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, it's. I think most of the people that know me, including fans and people that are not just my immediate family or friends, they get it. And during that whole deal, the like I said, the Mitchell report, for as far as I'm concerned, was done on toilet paper. I mean, this guy, I mean, straight ass clown. This guy. I mean, senator, whatever. Matter of fact, I think he was mentioned in the Epstein stuff. This guy. So I would, like talked about earlier, I'm an easy person to find. And this guy never reached out to me once. He said he reached out to my agents. What's a shame is not, I was a focal point of some of it, but there were other guys there. We had talked to about 12 other guys in the report that said what he said about us is not true either. And so, I hate to go all the way back, but as we're talking about it now, it's worth bringing up because, like I said, I never will look back. The only time I look back in the rearview mirror is to see how far I've come, and we've come a long way. We put pretty much all that in, and we did it the right way. We did it in a setting where nothing but facts matter. It doesn't have to be true about you; it just has to be first, is the way they are operating. We were also told that. By other people in the report that they said, hey, take that out of the report. That is not true. I can't confirm that. And they said, no, we're just going to leave it in. And so this is what we're dealing with when I said like a Jerry Springer show. I mean, during the Congressional deal, right, somebody from the left had a doctor's report that tried to read a doctor's report on me that I never even seen that doctor. That's how, I mean, and again, I was warned by this by the president and General Myers. They said, just heads up, because they're going to try and trick you. They're not going to know anything about you. They're just going to try and trick you. Most of it will be like a Jerry Springer show, which I like the Jerry Springer show, actually. I enjoyed watching it. and just
but, hey, real quick, Roger, on this note, on the doctors, because you brought the doctors up, I'm not going to say things that you don't want said in terms of what's already out there. But I do know you dealt with a labrum issue early in your career, right? Which established a relationship with a very well-known doctor. And you've had a lot of doctors or a couple doctors treat you throughout your career. And it's an issue today because it's like, okay, are we ever going to address this and get Roger into the Hall of Fame? President Trump has posted about this, and he thinks it's an absolute farce. You should be in the Hall of Fame. I think anybody that's ever watched baseball knows you should be in the Hall of Fame. That doesn't need to be litigated. If it does, this is where I was going to start our interview. Just as a reminder, 11-time All-Star, 2-time World Series champion, American League MVP, 7-time Cy Young Award winner. I mean, it goes on and on. ERA leaders, wins leaders, multiple times over. And I don't want to undercut College World Series champion, of course, as a Texas Longhorn.
There you go.
It's not even close, man. And so this is the entire issue. I didn't plan to talk about the Mitchell report with you either today. But if you want, I do know that these people who have treated you and know you your entire career have said things recently come out there about you and the likelihood or the evidence of any use of steroids.
Yeah, well, first of all, I took over, if I had to guess, 100 tests over my career. And not one thing. I took Olympic testing when I was on Team USA, and I played in the World Games, even more crucial testing. So I'm proud about that. I have no problem with it. Like I said, I don't. I said after year one, we kind of put the Hall of Fame stuff in the past. It's not going to change me as a person. I didn't play 24 years to make the Hall of Fame. I played early in my career, first couple of years, I played to change the dynamics of my family's life, my extended family's life, where we came from. Get my mom a new car, pay off some of her bills, blah, all that. But yeah, I mean, we kind of pretty much threw a wrench in their soup. I said, we got out there and we didn't beat them once, we beat them twice. Some slim shady stuff going on where I think they fired a bunch of these people that were up there trying to go after us. I think they fired him. I said one lady was hired by Mitchell's firm afterwards. That was kind of strange. That they were doing some stuff behind the scenes. But again, it's something that I mean, somebody didn't. Somebody. I have always said I appreciate the writers. I think I got in the 70s, or you got to get 75%, something like that. But I've always said I appreciate the people that looked at the facts, and if you can read past the third grade, you would understand, what was going on. But we got in a setting where only facts mattered, and we didn't beat them once, we beat them twice, and I'm pretty sure that pissed them off. But like I said, Mitchell pocketed $40 to $60 million. I think he had to give some back. That's how horseshit his report was, and but we're moving on. I mean, I find it very interesting that this is the same guy that wrote this report on me that's been rolling down to Epstein's house or whatever, and I'm pretty sure he denied it.
I didn't know.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. I got to look into that.
Pretty sure they weren't going down there to play shuffleboard. So, yeah.
But Roger, you say you've moved on, and I appreciate that, and you say that you don't like looking back, but if you would like to be in the Hall of Fame, yes?
Well, I have some artifacts there right now, Will, and that's the other thing. I don't know, a bunch of my entertainer friends, when they go up there to do concerts or stuff in the area, and Toby was one of them. Toby Keith's a good friend, and Toby said, Rock, you got like 8 or 10 pieces up here that really you should be able to. They're on loan, and you should be able to get them back for your kids. We're going to do a little museum here at some point. So I am going to I think my 20 strikeout gloves up there and some other stuff, my cleats and stuff I put on loan when they came to ask excuse me, to get them to display them. And I'm going to want those back here in Houston at some point when we have our museum here to look at some of those goodies. So again, Hall of Fame, somebody didn't vote for Derek Jeter. I mean, that's how crazy it was. So there's guys in there that have said that they had false positives, this or that. I'm super happy I did. Like I said, they came to my house on many occasions. They're actually doing it with my youngest son right now, who plays professionally. They'll come to the house here and do all your testing. So we welcome that anytime that they made a announcement that it was, you had to do your testing. So we had nothing to hide.
Did you really do the deal? I remember
with the
commercial.
rice.
Didn't you?
I can tell what you're doing.
Yes.
Yeah, so when you alluded
Yes.
to early in my career, I had an impingement. To hit on that side, I had a little impingement in my shoulder. I was a defensive end. I led with my right shoulder. Any surgery for a pitcher could be devastating. But the man that I had my visits with every 5 years, and Dr. James Andrews, and Doc said that he would be the first one to notice. He said this guy's body's never changed. He's taking great care of himself. When Doc did my scope way back when, 1985, he said, "Listen, I did the work on you. Now you're going to have to do the work to come all the way back." And it was a great line. I mean, I use it with all my buddies that have surgeries. I said, "Listen, the work is with you now. Once they fix you, you really have to put the work in." And I tell you what, I worked my tail off. I think it was 6 months to the day. I ended up striking out 20 batters, and I proved to my teammates and everybody else I was healthy and ready for thank goodness, for a long, long career. I also tell my golfing buddies and my other pitching guys, they ask it, how at 63 years old, you're still able to throw batting practice to the guys. And I said, well, I take my 3 and 5 pound cuff weights with me on every trip, just about. Whether I'm playing in a golf event or whatever, you can pretty much find me in the fitness center at 5:45, 6:15 in the morning, and I'm doing a 20-minute routine just for my shoulders, so I don't get a frozen shoulder, and I'm able to still throw to the grandkids or do those types of things. So there's a lot of work behind the scenes that people don't see. It just doesn't. A career like mine just doesn't happen.
What was the rice though? You buried your hand in a bucket of rice over and over again.
That was for your forearm ligaments and your elbow ligaments. It was just another good little drill that you could do. But yeah, it's got some good life and good play in it. I knew exactly what you're talking about when I saw your hand doing this.
What do you think about all the guys having Tommy John? You threw all those years, Roger. And so one of my producers pointing out, Nolan Ryan's like you. I mean, he threw all those years and threw a ton of innings, just like you. And you didn't have Tommy John. And all these guys now, granted, they come back and they're pretty good after Tommy John surgery. That's gotten to be a pretty good surgery. But We don't expect the pitcher anymore not to go on the injured list at some point. I mean, how did you and Nolan and all these other guys throw so much? I mean, these guys, I've got to assume, Roger, they're making $40 million a year. I got to assume they're putting in the work. So how did you guys do it and no one avoids it now?
Man, there's so many layers to what you just asked. I mean, it's incredible. I tease them. I said, I think some of these doctors are putting fishing line in there on their elbows, man. They come back. It's not that you come back and throw harder. You're coming back and you're healthy. And that's the key. A few years back, we went down to Birmingham to give Dr. James Andrew a Lifetime Achievement Award. It was myself, John Smoltz, and I think Charles Barkley. And Doc got up there and talked about, made the comment that he's never done so many Tommy John on 15-year-old boys. And I think it's just because they're all chasing velocity. Everything's, like I made a comment about a year ago that if you were a scout, Will, and I sent you to a local high school or college field, and I said, hey, go look at these two guys for me. One guy's named Greg Maddox and the other guy's named Tom Glavine. And you went over to that high school and you watched these two guys and they maxed out at 88. You'd close your books up and come back to me and go, boy, you just wasted my time. These guys can't break a pane of glass. But the thing is, both those guys are fantastic pitchers. And pitching is like buying property or a house. Location, location, location. You got to be able to locate. Guys in the big leagues can put wood on a bullet. They love, all the guys are throwing close to 100 miles an hour, and that's big time stress on your shoulder and elbow if your mechanics aren't great also. Now, the relievers can do that. I say some of our relievers look like a blender. Their mechanics look like a blender with the lid off of it. I mean, they're coming at you with elbows and legs and everything, but they only have to do that for about 20 pitches. So their body and elbow can handle that. A starter that's trying to get 100, 110 pitches, and that's really all they're going now. Sometimes they use 100 pitches in 4 innings. Then you start talking about analytics, and I'm kind of in the middle of the road in analytics. I'm not high on it, and I'm not low on it, but I do talk to what I call my guys, I call them propeller heads, because they're just on their computer, and they're saying, hey, get this guy out of there once he reaches this certain amount of pitches because the average goes up. I'm still a believer that, like Mel Stoudemire did with me when I was with the Yankees, he could hear me grunting in the 5th or 6th inning, getting close to the end of my rope. And he would tell me that when I'd come off the mound and come into the dugout. He goes, look, I think you're getting to the end of your rope right here. And I was like, Mel, then we started eating innings. Or Mel would come out to the mound and he'd ask me how I felt, and I'd be honest with him. And that's called giving somebody an eye and a heart test. Tell me how. Let me tell you, you're paying me a lot of money to be out here. Let me eat some outs now, so I get closer to the best closer in the game, Mariano Rivera. Now he only has to get 4 outs for me, or if I can get another guy out, ground ball, pop up, strikeout, then he only has to get 3 outs or maybe 2 outs in that game. So it's really not that much anymore. I've said that if you want to kind of stop these guys from going 4 innings and looking over their shoulder, tie the DH to the starting pitcher. That means if your pitcher bails on you in the 4th inning, you lose your designated hitter. That would encourage these managers to tell your starter, hey, you gotta give me 6, maybe 7 strong tonight, because we don't want to lose our designated hitter. So there's some layers to it of how things could work. I like the new changes, some of the new to the pitch clock. I tell people I was PitchCom before PitchCom. I called 95% of my game from the mound with my looks. My catchers had to pay attention to detail. And by the way, Will, you wouldn't believe how many of my catchers and teammates and everybody call me during this Hall of Fame voting stuff. They call and give me, it's great to hear from all of them, whether it's text or a phone call. And they're just, they all say it's BS, all this stuff. And I just tell them, it's something that we don't look at or worry about, but I appreciate the calls and the support from all of our people. And like you said, playing golf with President Trump, and he got busy out there on the internet.
Yeah, he did. Let's go back to the mound for a moment. So I hear you. There's such a chase for velocity. There's not enough attention being paid to the status of the pitcher and how he's feeling. when you were on the mound, and you also alluded to this, Roger, and I've seen you say this, when you first came through, you were a hard thrower. So you were the guy that you just described in some ways. I mean, you were blowing by batters. But I think it was, who was it you gave credit to that kind of turned you in from a thrower to a pitcher? It was somebody at the Red Sox that spent a year with you that kind of, I'd read this, kind of taught you the difference between being a thrower and a pitcher. When you were on the mound, Roger, I find I've talked to different guys like this. Did you feel aggro? You're known for that, by the way, obviously. You know, you're known for staring down a batter or whatever it may be. But did you but then there's the Kevin Costner movie, right, For Love of the Game, and he kind of does the clear the mechanism and everything gets drowned out and everything gets calm. Like, what was your emotional status when you're standing on the mound about to throw your next pitch?
Yeah, great question, partner. So yeah, I had a football mentality on the mound, and I guess the word that you would say, I was extremely focused. Again, it's pride in representing that city on my chest, and again, it was instilled by my mother and my grandmother. We took our work very seriously, and like I said, once I first signed, I was like, man, I can make some money doing this and help out a lot of people. After about 2 years and a couple Cy Youngs, it was about winning championships again, like when I came off the campus at the University of Texas winning a national championship. I was always, in high school, I didn't throw hard, but I threw strikes. So when the other guys, we get in the playoffs in high school, I had three wonderful coaches, bouncing around here a little bit, but I got to give recognition. I had three wonderful coaches. They were not only great coaches, they were better teachers of the game and the game of life. Coach Charlie Mariano, my high school coach, Coach Wayne Graham, who went on to take Rice University to a national championship, played under coach for 1 year. He was a baseball lifer. And when I say baseball lifer, like Don Zimmer, my bench coach for many years in Boston and New York. I don't think either one of these gentlemen cashed a check outside the game of baseball. And then, Coach Cliff Gustafson at the University of Texas. When I played for Coach Gus, he was the winningest coach in college baseball at the time. So I had three great coaches. None of them messed with my mechanics. I would have won a power pitcher in high school because, like I said, I threw 85. We had a couple guys that threw 90, which bring attention back in those days, which a lot of guys didn't throw at that speed. But when they would wet the bed, my high school coach would bring me in the game, throw strikes. I had a little Bugs Bunny curveball. And then next thing you know, I started getting junior college offers and four-year school offers to play. I wasn't going to be able to go to college because we didn't have the money my mother, obviously, we didn't have money to be able to put me through college. So via scholarship was going to be that ticket. And thank goodness it worked out. But I was a power pitcher once I grew a couple inches in JUCO in my workouts. When we got to Texas, we lifted with the football team. We didn't have a baseball lifting program. We lifted with the football guys, and I think I squatted out number 4 even in the rankings with the football guys. My legs got strong. 95, 97 came along, and but I was still pitching. To answer your question directly, when I got to Boston, two things. Bill Fisher, my pitching coach, was fantastic. Bill, I spoke at his funeral a few years ago, and Fish still to this day holds the major league record for not allowing a walk in like 91 innings. So his stickler was not walking guys. He did not. I never threw a no-hitter. I threw a bunch of one-hitters, but when I got 2-0, 3-0, I'm throwing a ball that probably the hitter's going to hit. I'm going to catch a lot of the plate. Spin off that a little bit. Bill Fisher, before he came to Boston, was in Cincinnati as a pitching coach. He had, who I loved, my two guys I watched all the time were Nolan Ryan, of course, and Tom Seaver. You're talking about Tom Seaver. Tom was with the Mets, came over. We had him, we traded for him. He got hurt. He wasn't able to go through the playoffs with us, but he got hurt. But it didn't matter to me because I was a sponge. Here I am at 23 years old, maybe 24. I got Tom Seaver right here, the ultimate power pitcher, pitching close to 40 years of age, and he has given me advice on the mound, for off the field, on the mound, and when I would watch him when he was pitching, he would sit there and throw 88 to 90 miles an hour, and then all of a sudden get in trouble. He'd have a guy on second and third and one out and needed a strikeout. And next thing you know, outside corner, inside corner, 94 miles an hour. Where did that come from? And I was like, this guy's saving that in the tank for when he needs it. So again, I was able to watch and learn at the major league level from one of the best of the best. My favorite guy,
Right.
I'd be remiss if I said the other reason why I wanted to make it to the major leagues, and he's a great friend of mine and love him to death, is Reggie Jackson. I wanted to be able to face Reggie Jackson. I obviously, when I was a kid, watched him hit the 3 home runs in the World Series. And Reggie made just a big impression on me with the Yankees. And then I finally had the opportunity, I don't know what it was, maybe it was in my first 4, 8, 10 starts that I had. He was with the California Angels, and I got to face Reggie Jackson at Fenway Park. At Fenway Park, he was a California Angel, and I'm just telling you, well, I was when they were announcing his names, I was behind the mound retying my shoes. My shoes weren't untied. My cleats weren't untied. I was retying them. And I was like, I did not want to turn around. I did not want to turn around and look this guy in the eyes. I couldn't believe I was getting ready to face Reggie Jackson.
What happened?
Well, I punched him out the first 3 times. And
There we go.
Yeah, I punched his ticket. Now, here's the thing he always reminds me. He calls me Heat instead of Rocket. He said, Heat. He goes, you were sitting at about 93 miles an hour to all my teammates, and I got in the box, and your first 3 pitches to me were 98, 98, 98 miles an hour. He said, what's up? I go, you're Reggie Jackson. I mean, that's why you got my best. You're Reggie Jackson. Now, let me finish.
Oh, yeah.
Punch him out. 5-1.
Go ahead, yes.
I think score was 5-1. I punched him out the first 3 times. His 4th at bat, he hit a 2-run homer off me in the bullpen at Fenway. It made it 5-3. They pulled me out of the game. I think while he was running around the bases, that Toby's got that half shell helmet and those glasses on, I think I was more happier than he was.
Okay, by the way, you brought up money. The first part of your career, you wanted to make some money. I did this right before I came on the show, Roger. I don't know why it caught my attention, because you had several $22 million contracts and so forth later in life. I was looking when you were a free agent, right? So Boston to Toronto. And obviously, you're the biggest free agent, maybe in the history of baseball at that time, right? And you signed a 4-year, $40 million contract, $10 million a year, which would have been like, what are we talking about, 1990-ish? Somewhere in that range? 91?
96,
so,
actually.
Was it 96? Okay, 96.
It was 96.
So
yep.
I was thinking, Roger, I wonder if Roger ever looked at these contracts these guys are signing and thinks, I hit the market, top of the market, $10 million a year. And then I thought, well, I have to adjust it for inflation. So I did. I just went to AI, says, what is $10 million in 1996 is what today? Have you ever done this, Roger? It's about $21 million a year. Okay, so that's what you signed for in inflation-adjusted dollars. You ever look at Jacob deGrom and these guys getting $37, $40 million a year and go, damn it, I was just a little early on the baseball economics.
No, you know what I say? I say, I think I can go 4 innings right now. Come down here and catch me, and let's get this going again. I think I can throw 85 pitches in 4 innings right now. I don't know how fast it would be, but no, you're dead on with your questions today, Pards. Nolan Ryan and those guys and Tom Seaver, they paved the way for me to make 5, 6, 7, 10. And it's just happened in the same way. I can tell you, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago in Tahoe. We were at Lake Tahoe at the American Century. And I was playing with Greg Maddux, and Mad Dog drove up next to me in his golf cart, and he said, Rock, he goes, seriously, could you pitch 4 or 5 innings right now? And I go, I don't know, maybe. He goes, well, we could do that, but they couldn't afford us right now. And I said, you're right. We'd be making 50. Mad Dog's got, I don't know, 4 Cy Youngs. I got 7. There's no way they could even afford us. But that was how things went. What was crazy about that, I tell people I would have spent my whole career in Boston probably. I was going to retire there, but they got a new GM that came in. He ran all of us off. Everybody's like, oh, you left Boston to go. I go, no, I didn't leave. Well, they basically ran us off. I was actually, what was crazy, I don't know if I've told this story too many times, but I was in Hawaii playing in a celebrity event, with family and everybody in Hawaii, and it was going to be about an 11, 12-day trip. And on day 8, I get a call back from agents, and they said you need to get back to Houston. We got some serious discussion going on with 4 teams. And I said, well, wait a minute. I couldn't get $1 million guaranteed from a team that I played 13 years for, blood, sweat, and tears, busted my ass for, and they're not even going to guarantee me that. And then the guy said a famous line, which was awesome, because he said, good luck in the twilight of your career. Thank God it was a long-ass twilight, like 12 more years. I didn't know I was going to play that long. And or pitch, I said, there's no way I'm pitching until I'm 40. And that went by the boards too. But, yeah, so I get back home, and they said, hey, we got 4 teams that want your services. And I think the lowest was about 32. And I just started laughing, and they both looked at me, and Hendricks brothers looked at me and said, what's so damn funny? And I go, a team that I was just with for 13 years, I was going to take a pay cut to hang out for 4 more years and maybe go into coaching or something like that. I couldn't get guaranteed $1 million, and you're telling me this is on the table now? I said, it's incredible. So end up going to Toronto because of Mr. Beeston, the owner then. He was going to get the team back on top like they were. I tell people in the 80s when I was with the Red Sox, the Yankees really, they weren't our rivals because they weren't very good. The team that was tough to beat were the Blue Jays in the late 80s, early 90s. Early 90s, they won back-to-back World Series. And then once Steinbrenner came down to Houston and said, listen, I've been trying to get you forever. You want to be a damn Yankee or don't you? Once I signed with New York, Red Sox changed ownership, and everything got good and competitive again. Not crazy, ugly competitive like in the 70s. Those guys were sliding into second base hard trying to take your kneecaps off. But we had some good battles once both teams got competitive.
So let's see if you
again.
answer this. Are you, in your heart, Roger, are you a Red Sox, a Blue Jay, a Yankee, or an Astro?
In my heart, I'm right there, baby. That's where I'm at.
You're a Longhorn.
Yeah. How about that for a political answer? Take that and put that on your show. Right here, baby. That's where I got my start. National championship.
I love that.
Beat Alabama. Let's go.
Okay. I didn't think you'd answer that, to be honest.
Perfect.
How about this? You told me at the start of this interview that the most meaningful thing you ever did was there after 9/11, that trip. But let's go back to baseball for a moment. So I'm not going to let you political correct me out of this. I actually don't know if you'll have an answer to this because, I mean, I'm not trying to compare myself to you. You know, a question people always ask me, Roger, that I just can't answer. Hey, what's your favorite interview? I'm like, I don't know. I've had a lot of great ones, and it's just kind of hard to. So the question is, what moment, Roger, like all the Cy Youngs, all the 20 wins, all the strikeouts, the 2 World Series, the MVP, like, is there one moment, is there one year, is there one game, is there one thing that sits at the top of the mountain?
Wow. You're dead on. This is tough to answer. Wow. I think that when I got drafted, after we won the College World Series and got drafted and knew I had a chance to change the direction of my immediate family and extended family's lives, you got to have some big shoulders to do that. My sisters always talk about that. I think I wish I would have kept a better journal. My mother always said keep a journal, but I felt like if I kept a journal, Will, I'd have probably been a 1 or 2 year player and out and not have any memories. I need to write it down while I'm still thinking about it, but I think just the cool moments that I really I think when you and I talked about Charlie Kirk on your show, and I pay attention to detail and I kind of study people and look at their mannerisms. Obviously I take that from the ball field to taking it off the field and look at guys. But when you ask me that question, I can still see to this day twice tears in President Bush 41's eyes. His tears. I was in the Oval Office when he signed what he needed to sign for Desert Storm to send troops into harm's way, and he knew he was going to lose. Some families were going to lose their loved ones, their sons and their daughters, and his eyes were tearing up. I can still see that when you ask him that question. I was there. I was at Kenny Bunkport when the coup broke out in Russia. Um, um, playing golf with the different presidents, sitting presidents at the time is just really cool, and seeing how important stuff was to how important was really getting to meet the man that some people don't get to see over interviews and things like that. Gosh, influential people. I mean, I really need to make a list
What about
before
on the
my mind.
okay? Quick
On the
follow-ups
field,
here.
I don't know.
HW.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I
on the
don't
field.
care. Yeah, my boys know it too. Not that I distance myself from the game, because I still love going to spring training when the teams ask me to come to spring training and work with the guys. When they ask pointed questions, I try and give them a pointed answer. My stats are my stats. I don't even hardly look at them. Again, I tell people that's what I did. It's not who I am, and it was a special journey. I loved it. I did it to the fullest. The boys will remind me of fun stats about maybe being the oldest Yankee to ever record a base hit without all those Yankee legends. They'll tell me what they think my best game is I ever pitched. It was fun for me to pitch as long as I did, that my boys all played professionally, whether they got to the majors or not, that they were able to make a comment, just in passing. We might be on the golf course, and they go, "Dad, you stood and played in a stadium, and you stood right where Lou Gehrig gave his farewell speech." Or you pitched and stood right where Babe Ruth and Ted Williams. So when they bring up those kind of cool things about moments of history that I got to, pick the same dirt off the mound that Babe Ruth was a left-handed pitcher from, or I won Cy Young's award. It's still my goal to get to Ohio. I looked it up and researched it. I want to go to Cy Young's gravesite and tell him thank you, that I got to win his award 7 times. These guys would be laughing at my stats, let alone laughing at what the pitchers are doing now. I mean, these guys pitching every 2 days, 511 wins. I mean, and then they had a job in the offseason. They're baling hay and working on a farm. And I mean, I have no idea how their shoulders didn't fall off. So when you ask that question,
hold on,
I think
I got to follow up. And I got to let you get about your day. By the way, you told me this when we saw each other last time. More nervous watching your boys play baseball than you ever were for yourself playing baseball?
100%.
100%. I think most parents can identify with that. We just haven't been on a major league mound.
I will tell you that they are all hitters. They're like, "Dad, why'd you name us with the letter K for strikeout for? We're all hitters. We don't want to strike out." I said, I got you. The Ks just kept coming. I started with Kobe for the 20 strikeout game, and they all just kept coming. So, but they're all hitters. So it's a little more relaxing knowing that they're not on the mound, because I know how difficult that. Even though, Will, I tell this story. This is another stat. Well, I'm jumped in my mind here. Cody, who got drafted by Detroit, traded to Philly, and then Philly, now he's with Minnesota. When he was with Detroit, he got on the mound and he struck out Ohtani in Anaheim. It's when Ohtani was with the Angels. When he struck out Ohtani, we got the ball. He had the mindset to throw the ball out. There's an authenticator there next to the dugout. They authenticated the ball. He calls me after the game, says, "Pops, you think if I send the ball over, Ohtani will sign it for me?" I go, "Hell yeah, send it over there and see if he'll sign it." The next day, Ohtani sends the ball back. It says, "Cody, dear Cody, nasty pitch." And he sent it back. He signed it and sent it back to him. But what that did was, I said, "Son, you talk about Dad's 7 Cy Youngs being unbreakable. What you just did last night put us it's never going to be broken. We just passed Mel and Todd Stoudemire. I think they had like 2,000 strikeouts, whatever it is, combined, father, son. You have 1. Dad has 4,600 or something. We are now the all-time father-son strikeout leaders in Major League Baseball. Yes. Never be broken." So I said, "You did your part. You got 1, and Dad's got it." So there you go.
Let's go back to the golf for a second. HW, I know you've played with Trump. I don't know if you got to play with Clinton or any Democrat presidents in there. Tell me the difference between these guys on the golf course.
Super competitive, and I got to play in front of President 41 Bush Sr. And we're at the Bob Hope tournament. I'm playing with Yogi Bear, which if you know Yogi, I mean, this man has 13 World Series. I think, I don't know, 9 is. He's got a ring for every finger, every thumb, and a few toes. And so Yogi and I are playing. And I wanted to get a picture with Yogi out there, so I said, "Listen, I'm going to call you over at one point, Yogi, while I'm putting. There's all these cameras following us. I want you to lean in. I want to get a good picture of you and I." Yogi gave me, by the way, probably the best compliment I've ever had, because he always read where all my catchers that I love, all these guys that made me look good out there, there's 2 that if I had the opportunity to throw to, I would love to throw to, and that's Johnny Bench and Yogi Bear. And Yogi's like, he at one point grabbed me when I was a Yankee and on a backfield and said, "Come here, kid." He goes, "I just want to tell you something." He goes, "I've watched your work and how you go about your work." He goes, "You could have pitched in our era." And I said, "Yogi, coming from you, that's a huge compliment." So Yogi and I are playing. The group behind us, big commotion. You got 41 Bush, you got Clinton, Gerald Ford, and one other one. And so we're kind of watching them play, and our holes cross paths. And here comes President Bush. President Bush is a lefty, so his visor's kind of cocked like a left-hander wears, like this. And so we walk up with our caddy, and as soon as we go underneath the ropes, looking like we're going backwards, Secret Service comes out of nowhere, and I said, "Hey, it's me. I just want to talk to the president." And I looked at President Bush, and I go, "Hey, he's playing with Clinton." And I said, "Hey, this guy's not going to beat you today, is he? You're not going to let him beat you?" He goes, "He is not going to beat me. I'm going to tear him apart. I'm going to tear him apart." So he was competitive on the golf course as ever, and so that was a fun deal at the Bob Hope, having all those guys around that same group.
And President Trump, the difference between President Trump and those guys on the golf course?
Well, I'll just flat out tell you, I played with President Trump. I played with him when he wasn't president, and he's better now. I mean, he hit my son, who's trying to get his tour card, who's about a +4. He's like, afterwards, we're having lunch, and the president went to the restroom, and his dad, he goes, he only missed one fairway, and the one fairway he missed was by about 6-8 inches. And I told him, I drove up after the 6th hole, I drove up next to him. I said, 47. I go, "All right, you've gotten better, number one. Number two, if you somehow have that competition, that bet against Biden, I want in on it. I want to put some money in on that. I've seen you hit it. I want in on that." I think he looked at me and said, "Rocket, he couldn't even find his golf clubs to play me right now." I think is what he told me. And so I said, he said what pissed him off about the whole debate was, he said he knew he had him beat in the debate, but he said it pissed him off when he told everybody in the country he's a 6 handicap. And I go, "Well, Mr. President, I can tell you he's not a 6 handicap, because we are, and there's no chance." So, but he hit the ball beautifully. He shot a high 70 number, I think 78, and he's gotten better. I'm just telling you, he every ball was about 250, and like I said, he hit 13 out of 14 fairways that day. So he's got it going on.
All right, last question for you, Roger. I want to take this full circle. I didn't anticipate we would start with 9/11, and it occurred to me in the moment when you were saying this. You were supposed to pitch that night. You took a couple weeks off. You come back. And it just occurred to me, you were there when President Bush came out to throw that pitch. And it's just such
Fantastic.
a moment. I assume you were there. I assume you were in the building.
Yeah.
Anything you remember from that night? I mean, for all of us, I mean, it's such a moment. There's documentaries about that moment. It's about that strike that he threw. But I just wonder what that moment meant to you and what you saw behind the scenes.
Yeah, point on again, buddy. Again, you talking about it, I can just visualize being there. I think after a couple of weeks, we started back up. I pitched in Chicago against the White Sox on the south side. I think I got my 20th win. I think first one to go 20. I think I was 20-1 at the time. And usually in a tough environment, in a visiting place in Chicago, the White Sox fans had all made signs. I was standing next to Joe Torre and Zimmer on the line. We all were tearing up. It was super emotional. Fast forward to what you're talking about. We get to the World Series. We got our butts kicked 2 games in Arizona. I'm pitching the swing game. It's a game that I can't have a hiccup. I got to be pitcher perfect. I know the president coming, 43's coming to throw out the first pitch, got a bulletproof vest on underneath his jacket. Comes in the locker room. We have a small talk, and I direct him towards the bullpen, the underground hitting facility at Yankee Stadium, which is pretty good walk. And he went down there to warm up, throw 6 or 8 pitches just to see if he could throw a ball with that jacket on, that bulletproof jacket. And just like you said, he came out in front of the world. I was in the bullpen warming up with my pitching coach, Mel Stoudemire, and I stopped to turn around. We had the best seat in the house, Will, being in, if you can visualize being at old Yankee Stadium in the bullpen, you can see the entire facade half bowl of the stadium. You could see about 6 snipers up on top of the stadium. And Mel said, "Is everything all right?" And I said, "Yeah, I want to stop warming up. I want to watch this moment. I want to take it in. This place is going to light up with all these cameras like a Christmas tree." 55,000 people. The president walked out. Place erupted. And just like you said, there's plenty of video on it. He wound up and threw a perfect strike in front of the world, not just for us at the stadium, the United States, in front of the world saw it, that he's bringing back a lot of peace and stuff like that. Mr. Steinbrenner, tipped my hat to him. When I walked outside the locker room to go do my warm-up routine in the fitness center there at Yankee Stadium, the halls both sides were lined with police officers, about 300 police officers, firemen, families that lost loved ones, and you could see the heartache in their eyes. It was hard for me to make eye contact with them because you could see the heartache in their eyes. And we were just playing a game. Obviously, it was a big game, but it still was a game to try and take their minds off what had been happening. 3 hours of maybe peace and quiet where they could sit down and enjoy a ball game, a World Series game. So I remember Joe Torre coming up to me a few minutes before the president got in the locker room, and I stood up and we're face to face. Called Joe the Godfather, and he looked at me and said, "I need you tonight." And I said, "I got you, Skip." And he goes, "No, I friggin' need you tonight." And so it was one of the bigger moments, bigger games that I had to pitch in, and had to win that game to get us back in the series. But it was I was in 6 World Series. 2 of the losses were the most emotional. One was 1986, my first World Series against the Mets, and of course 2001 against Arizona. Those were very emotional World Series.
Yeah. Man, we could talk for another hour. I really appreciate you spending so much time with me, Roger. I've appreciated getting to know you as well. You're going to have a place right here, as you know, in the Will Cain Show studios. And he did ask me, he's like, "Will, what jersey do you want? You want Yankees? You want Red Sox? You want Astros?" I was like, "Well, I'm a Ranger fan, so I don't know how to pick." And you came up with the idea, Team USA. And afterwards, I remembered maybe I should have done Longhorns, but nope, I'm proud. Team USA, Roger Clemens jersey, right here in the Will Cain Show studio. So I appreciate you, man. Thank you, Roger.
Hey, buddy. Thanks for having me on, and we'll be watching. We love what you do, and again, I'm glad you're home in Dallas.
Roger Clemens. Let's bring in Tinfoil Pat Two-A-Days Dan on this Friday edition of Cain on Sports at Will Cain Country.
Dude,
you tickled to death, Dan.
That's
your favorite
the
one we've done yet.
Roger Clemens fan. That might be my favorite thing we've done on this show since I started with you. Dude, that was so cool. The inside baseball, the stories, I could listen to it for hours.
You literally could go on for another hour.
As you can see. Yeah. I really could. But Roger can talk, too. I mean, he's got things to say. You can tell Roger's a bit of a stream of consciousness guy.
Yeah.
When something pops in his head, he starts talking. And before you know it, you start at A and you end up on not Z, but maybe P. And so, I think his first answer to me, which I'm not sure his answer, we just start talking.
Yeah.
I had like a half a dozen follow-ups. I want to talk about, everything. By the way, it is a Flannel Friday as well, our last Flannel Friday, with Buffalo Jackson here right before Christmas. Tinfoil Pat, Two-A-Days Dan, and myself are wearing some Buffalo Jackson flannels. Make sure you check them out. Good dude, by the way. Hung out with Zan this week.
Yeah.
I just love it. Small company.
He's been so nice
and
so great.
Just
love him.
Oh, he's great. I mean, it's a great company to patronize. Forget I
look at their website once a day.
It's a great company. Yeah. to patronize. We hope you do check out Buffalo Jackson. So this is one thing that stood out to me. So I didn't talk to Roger ahead of the interview. I didn't, but I have texted with Roger from time to time, and I do, and I've talked to some of the people around sort of in Roger's camp. The Hall of Fame thing, okay? I didn't know if he'd want to talk about it. And I didn't know how much of stuff that I've gotten to know recently he'd want to talk about. I do think he wanted to. For the record, I don't know. I don't know him that well. I do think he wants to be in the Hall of Fame. I obviously, he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Easy.
I mean, come on.
I was looking at his stats. Holy
hey,
man.
Even if the allegations were true, you know, the allegations are like some of the last 2 or 3 years of his career.
Sure.
Which I don't think they're true anyway, but even if they were, like you're talking about a career like he's
7
got
Cy Youngs.
You could say he's got 3 Hall of Fame careers, obviously maybe at least 2 Hall of Fame careers before you even get to the allegations, right? People say that about Bonds as well, right? He's got a Hall of Fame career before.
Oh, absolutely.
But this is the part I didn't know. He brought him up. Dr. James Andrews has treated Roger throughout his career. Early in his career, he went to him for a shoulder thing, and then he continued to go to him throughout. And another doctor that's treated him throughout his career. And those guys have now, on the record, you know, given testimony like never any indication whatsoever, not medically, and doesn't have the body of somebody who would have taken steroids, which, by the way, I do find, even though it's not like the most scientific thing, that particular part of it, I do find compelling. Because back then when dudes were doing that, they changed. Guys changed, and they changed overnight. Roger looks the same through his entire career. You know, I mean, and by the way, I think Bonds should be in the Hall of Fame. But you can see how Barry Bonds changed physically at a certain point in his career. That's not there with Roger.
He was always
Clemens.
an impossible out, no matter what. I mean, you still have to hit the ball. That's what everyone says. You still have to do the work, you know, the recovery, the whatever. People have varying opinions on it, but you're right.
I still think that, I mean, I just don't understand the demonization of the steroids, per se. I mean, it literally, baseball was dead after that lockout. And, like, it brought it back. I remember that summer where McGuire and Sosa were, you know, hammering all those homers. It was exciting, you know?
It's a dangerous advantage, though.
It is. But, you know, I just think we obviously don't want them now, but, like, I just don't understand, like, the whole pearl clutching of the steroid thing. Not to say anybody did or didn't do it, but, you know, it was a fun time. I liked it.
Yeah. I'm kind of getting there, too. And I almost feel weird even having that conversation because, like, you're justifying something that, you know, Roger certainly contends, and a lot of people around his career with real positions of authority contend as well. But I didn't. You know, for all that, I didn't, even in the face of what you're saying, Patrick. Did you think, Dan, were you nervous as a Yankee fan that he was going to say Red Sox or something when I asked him in your heart, who are you?
I mean, the thumbnail of the episode is definitely in a Yankee uniform, but, you know, it's fine. I was nervous. I mean, that story about the GM.
If it were me, if it were me, how do I know the answer to this question? But if it were me, I'm being honest, Dan, I would think I would be a Red Sox. Now, I'm just going to tell you why.
I agree.
Okay, that's how. But that's what kind of fan I am. Like, you and I, the three of us have been texting about this story that President Trump is going to do the Patriot Games in approach of the 250th anniversary of America. And I love this idea. A male and a female athlete from every state is going to compete in like an Olympics type event among the states. And I freaking love this idea. But, Dan, you made the joke real quickly, like, California's going to have some dude in there competing as one of the females, you know. Yeah. But my brain immediately went to, well, who gets to be from what state? Like, are you born there? Do you get to move to a state and claim and represent that state? And if you do move, how long do you need to have kind of been there? And Patrick, if you think about it, that's sort of a proxy debate for what it is to be an American. This like bigger conversation we've talked about. But
I told ChatGPT
I am a guy.
when I was coming up with a list,
Go ahead.
It said Derrick Henry, Alabama. I'm like, Derrick Henry's from Florida. He's just north of me. So like, I said, don't do that bull crap. And also, Matthew McConaughey is not going to represent Texas, ChatGPT. So I have a whole list that I narrowed down a little bit on that. So it has Myles Garrett.
Roger was born in Ohio, moved to Texas. I think when he was like, they moved to Texas. I can't remember what age it was. It was fairly early. And he clearly considers himself a Texan, and he is a Texan. I've been around him, like culturally. Sure. He's a Texan.
Age of 4.
So what does it mean? What age of 4? So I mean, is he Ohioan or is he Texan? But my point is, like, so birth and origin story mean a lot. So like Dirk Nowitzki is a Maverick. You get what I'm saying? And he never played for anybody else. But if he would have, I still think he's a Maverick. Hold on, we'll get to the more difficult ones. But Emmitt Smith is a Cowboy. Joe Montana is a 49er. They're not these other places that they stop. Now, Roger's different because his career is basically split in two. The Red Sox get the first half, and the 3 other teams get the second half. But I just put a lot of weight on the first, is what I'm getting at. That's why I brought the Patriot games in and all this. I just kind of give a lot of weight to where you were drafted if you spent a lot of time there. You bring up LeBron. Like for Luka, I think Luka will be interesting. I will always think of Luka as a Maverick, right? If he goes and wins NBA championships as a Laker, I mean, I'm sure the world will consider him a Laker.
But even still
for the rest
now,
of his career. But
he's Mav.
Yeah. He's early in being in his Lakers career. Yeah. But my only point is I'm not trying to mess with you because you're a Yankees fan. I think if I were Roger, it would be a hard time not thinking of myself as a Red Sox. I think.
That moment when he decided he's coming back, that was a defining moment of my childhood. It was crazy. Or coming to the
I don't know. I think I put him like third as a Yankee. I see him as a Red Sox and then an Astro. Like just because it's like the Texas guys back in Texas,
And not just Texas, Houston.
That 05 run.
Where you grew up outside of Houston.
Right.
Yeah. But I will say, in listening to him and him talking about his kids and talking about standing on the mound and putting his hands in the dirt that Babe Ruth put his hands in and standing in the stadium where Lou Gehrig stood, I did hear, I feel like, a strong, strong emotional connection. And he won 2 World Series there, so a strong emotional connection to the Yankees.
And with 9/11, that story at the end with Bush, I mean, I literally had chills when he was talking about it. That'll stick with you. I think you're right. That gives him a little love, more love for New York.
Yeah. So, I mean, what an awesome conversation. I really, really, really have gotten to not know him well, but when I've been around him, really like Roger Clemens, and I love that he held up hook 'em horns when I asked him which one of all those teams.
Great answer.
It's Texas Longhorns that he picked. Yeah. It was a little politically correct. Hey, when you go into the Baseball Hall of Fame, don't you pick a hat? You go in in football you do, right? You go in as a member of a certain team. Yeah, so Roger would have to. I can't.
Usually, you pick a hat.
I can't remember if baseball's that way. Is it?
Yeah, usually you pick a hat that is on your plaque. But like, if you played for multiple teams, I think sometimes they'll let you go with no logo.
I'm reading it. You don't strictly pick a team. You're elected as a player of a certain team. So it's how you're elected.
So he wouldn't have to. He wouldn't have to announce at that point.
I don't think so. No.
That'd be a big moment if he did, though. If he picks one of those teams, he needs to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Or he does
we
one
need
of
to
those,
get to that problem.
House divided. The house divided license plates, and he just has one. It's like half Yankee, half Boston.
Cop out.
Hat.
Nope.
Be hilarious.
What about the Astros? You said Astros should be up there.
Well, yeah, but he won the World Series with the Yankees.
When he brings up Nolan Ryan and those guys and what they made, I haven't looked up what Nolan Ryan made throughout his career, and Nolan's done fine. I'm sure he's lived a great life. I'm sure he's made good money on and off the mound. But those guys sometimes have to look at the modern day guys and what they're getting paid. And even adjusted for inflation, they're getting way more. And you have to be like, man, this guy's getting $20 million a year?
That's how I'm going to feel in 30 years when producers are making, crazy money.
1979 with the Astros. Nolan Ryan, 4 years, $4.5 million.
Is that total? So is $1 million something a year?
He was making like
Not
$1 million
for
a year.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
$1 million a year.
Yeah.
And that was like breaking the bank back then. It was
Career
like, holy
earnings,
cow, this guy.
approximately $25.7 million over 27 years. Seasons.
That right there, that is like a fourth starter in the major leagues for a season today.
Yeah.
Like a fifth starter's
how
getting
much?
$20 million.
25 million, 26 million.
That's right. I was going to say, but he did career earnings in 1 year.
Yeah.
A fourth starter.
Those
is
were
getting
27 seasons.
Yeah. Incredible. All right. Also, incredible conversation with Roger Clemens. We hope you enjoyed that. Make sure you will. We hope you will. Give us a 5-star review. Follow us on Spotify or Apple. Thanks for hanging out with us on this Cain on Sports edition of Will Cain Country. We'll see you again next time.